Hello, it's Garnet again. Recently I talked about 3 ways of using the Neuro Light: brain exercise, help right now, and brain shaping. So this is a little bit more about number two, help right now. I think you understand the concept of help right now. The name itself, I think, is easy. The idea that a person is having some kind of experience in the moment, in the present, and they need some help with that. It isn't necessarily that they're having a problem, although it could be that. It may be that they want some help right now in increasing the probability of having some good success at doing something. You know, maybe they're getting ready to write an exam, or they're going into, I don't know, the first stage of a meditation retreat, and they feel anxious or, doubtful. It can be something to increase the positive, or it can be something to decrease the negative. And frequently a person will have a kind of an experience that they would like less of. And help right now can be good for that. I had mentioned that this is short term. And short term is beautiful. If you're having a bad day, you're having a hard time, feeling better, seeing into it, is beautiful. So help right now, along with the brain exercise, is where most new Neuro Light users will begin. And if you understand about neuroplasticity, and I won't make this too technical, but there are different aspects or phases of it, and there are some aspects called functional plasticity where the changes can happen in minutes to hours, even seconds. So the help right now has this capacity because the brain has this capacity. It has the capacity to shift quickly. You would understand that this isn't really making new synaptic pathways. This is in all likelihood bringing forward pre-existing pathways that are kind of in stasis, that they're offline or they're somehow obstructed. So you can very quickly bring back good things that may not be obvious in the moment. When you work with help right now, you also have to understand that, in my opinion, it may be, I don't know, the word mistake is a bit harsh, but it may be a mistake to aim specifically at the goal that they want. My advice is attempt to recognize, help them recognize so they can tell you what is their emotional state in relation to the issue. Right? So I sometimes say, and this is especially true with help right now, that you can't work with a future person. You can't work with the person they want to be. You can only work with the person they are, and the person they are is that person in the moment. So do your best to get them to help you identify what it is that is the sensed experience at the moment. That's the door in which you're able to enter into help right now. And most typically, although it's not a rule, I like using 2 11-minute sessions to create a kind of a mini vector so that there's a higher probability that the help right now is going to take effect. So let's say that they're about to write an examination, I'm making this up, and they're concerned that they're forgetful and that if they don't remember they won't be able to do the exam. I'm making this up, so let's see if this works. Then you have to see, well, what is their emotional reaction to the concern of forgetting? And an easy one to expect would be anxiety. And the more anxiety they feel about not remembering, the more that they forget, because the anxiety is compounding the issue. So instead of just shooting straight for memory, reinforcing that capability, which you can, there are compositions for that, I would suggest start first with the issue of the anxious response, maybe the decreased anxiety in the mood zone, for example. Spend 11 minutes with that, pause, and then go into the memory reinforcement, any number of different sessions for that. And importantly, if possible, help them recognize before the first composition, let them recognize that they are having an anxiety reaction to not remembering. The more cognizant they are of that fact, the better able they'll be to move through it. Because as soon as you recognize and even name an emotional state, that is an activity in the cognitive control network, which then decreases the limbic network reaction. So the emotion of anxiety will have less charge because they recognize it, they name it, it'll loosen much more easily. So I like to think of and I'll talk more about this some other time, the Neuro Light experience is not just the light and sound. It's the period before it, it's the period during it, and it's the period after it. It's one flowing three-step process that is really joined at the bottom back again to make a circle over time. And this circle is not just going round and round in circles, it's actually a spiral that is moving up and up and up. Because that's how we get ourselves into trouble in reverse, is we go negatively in a circle and spiral down and down and down. So the help right now, try to recognize what emotion or mood state is associated with the issue. See if they can recognize that. Don't be smart and try to project onto them. Do a process to see if they can't recognize it in themselves. You agree with them, you say notice it, name it. Now let's go ahead and start the session. So that's a little view on help right now. There's more to be said about it, but consider working with the person in the moment. That's the only real person that exists. Thanks. Bye-bye.